Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Into the Arena. This is Sean Corcoran, the CEO of Men for Life, joined again by co-host Andrew Wood. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good, man. What's up?
I'm doing all right. I'm recording 3 podcasts today. I did Clark Forsyth, and then this afternoon AJ Hurley in the series "What Should the Pro-Life Movement Want?" 2 very opposing views.
Yeah.
You know, there should be a lot of energy coming this afternoon with AJ. I'm gonna have to drink some more coffee. Or
Yeah,
energy
we were
drinks.
we were on we were on YouTube last night, and my son, we're scrolling through, and he was like, "Hold on, Sean does podcasts with other people?" Like, he was so offended that that it's not just me. I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he does. Yeah, he really does." But he was like, "What's he doing?" I was like you're stepping out on me or something. I was like, "It's
Yeah.
okay. I know."
I think I think this is I hate to say this is the fun one because
Yeah, yeah,
I enjoy those conversations and I think they're informative and I think that's a big part of the goal. But I really enjoy the idea of getting to just have a conversation without an objective, right?
yeah. Well,
Like,
and I think this one is different because literally there's thought. Let's not say there's no thought, but it really is like we come on, we're like, hey, what do you want to talk about today?
yeah,
And then sometimes we say that and then we start recording and it definitely goes,
that's
different
right.
directions. So which to me that's what normal conversation is. It is, you talk and that leads to something else that leads to something else. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I enjoy it too.
And I think that the conversations are important because, as we're talking through it and we're thinking about things that are important to us and things that are going on in our lives, it is things that are also going on in other people's lives,
Hmm.
and that, and everything that we talk about, at some point, at least we try to anchor it to the Bible, so there is at least some connection to objective truth,
Yeah.
which impacts everybody's life.
Which is a good practice. If you're listening to this, that's a good practice in general. Anchor things to the Bible,
Yeah,
and it's going to keep you out of a lot of nonsense.
that's right.
It really will. And look for opportunities even within life where you're like, how does that connect? What is I'm always trying to make connections to, or hey, the scripture says this just happened in my family, or this just happened. Why do I talked to somebody this morning, and they were like, now that it's getting the days are getting a little bit longer, we're getting in the South here finally blessed with a little bit warmer weather. He was like, he said, it's like a cloud has been lifted off of me. And I'm like, yeah, that's what happens, when our body does that, and scripture says that even with we can just look at the seasons. And wintertime is a tough season for some folks. But man, when those days start getting longer and the sun starts popping out and it's a little bit warmer, you're not having to bundle up, and you're not going outside waiting to just get back inside. It does something to you. And I think the Lord wired us in that way. Uh, so yeah, we're coming in my opinion, we're coming in to the best time of year right now. So
Oh yeah, it's
it's going to be great.
shorts weather here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not quite that here yet, but
Like summer
uh,
started. My kids wanted to go swimming this weekend.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
The water would have been too cold, but they were ready to go swimming. All right, so what we had talked about talking about today is fraternal correction, which is also
Yeah.
biblical, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not the right person to draw you to the scripture verse, but but if you are, if at some point you think about one that connects it, please
Sure.
draw us in. But the reason this came up was because I got a comment on a social media post that I woke up to yesterday morning from a fraternity brother of mine who I haven't seen in 20 years, haven't spoken to in 20 years. He commented for the first time on one of my posts in probably 5 to 10 years. And other than that, maybe a handful of times on social media that we've connected. And what he said was, you need to stop posting so much on social media and focus on your family. We have all been talking about our concern about your new addiction, and something to that effect. Those words were all in it. It was a little longer than that.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and and immediately my first thought was, dude, like, you have no idea what's going on in my family. Like, we haven't spoken in 20 years. I
Right.
don't even think you live here anymore. But the second thought I had was, God speaks to us in whatever way He wants, right?
Hmm.
So not to be dismissive, And my response was essentially, "Hey, it's hey, it's really good to hear from you. I haven't seen you in 20 years." And at this point, I'm wording it in as friendly of a way as possible, but I want to make sure that I'm clear to anyone else who sees this, because I'm not just going to go through and delete anything. I leave very hateful messages on my posts, so I'm not going to delete this. But I want to make it clear that this isn't like my next door neighbor saying, "Hey, I've noticed you're not
Right.
paying attention to your family." This is somebody who I haven't seen in 20 years. And so I said, "Hey, it's really good to hear from you. I haven't seen you in 20 years, and I've only heard from you a handful of times on social media. I appreciate the concern, and if you have time one day, let's go to lunch, and you can help me to figure out how I can best optimize my time on social media." And I kind of left it at that, and he responded, "Sure, I don't live here anymore, but let's do it." And and then I threw one more in, and I was like, "Look, just for context, if you want to follow along with what I'm doing, here's the link to the podcasts that we do, where most of our social media posts come from. My consultant thinks I should post 3 times a day, but with 5 kids, it's really hard sometimes for me to post
Hmm.
once." And I left it at that. But I still thought about, is this God saying, "Sean, you need to think about the way in which you are doing this"? My speculation is that He didn't appreciate one or more of the posts, the substance of the posts, and so that's where that came from. But I don't know that. Then this morning at the gym, a guy who does live here and who does see me regularly came up, and he's like, "Man, I just want you to know I'm really proud of you for all of the things that you've been doing, for your career and for your organization and for your family, and the way that you're parenting, and I want you to know that I see it, and I appreciate that." And so just kind of contrast those two views of what's going on, and to think about that either one of those messages could be coming from
Hmm.
either place, right? Like that could be a way for the enemy to be feeding my ego. Um, it made me at least calm down about the first message and realize that
Right.
people who know me and see me at jiu-jitsu, and you can even see, look, I'll make fun of myself right now. You can see it in my Instagram stories today. You can't if you're watching this right now because this was last week, but you can see this Andrew can see this in my Instagram stories today, where I posted a picture of myself at the gym, and then my daily schedule, then my whole schedule.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
here's what I'm doing today, to the people who think that I don't do enough for my family, which is a problem that I have too. But I think fraternal correction is really important. We also talked this week about how sometimes our own kids can see things and call us out, and you had some really good examples of that, and so that's kind of where we decided to go with it today.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I do think we need to discern any and every critique, good and bad, that comes in. I mean, I think I told y'all at church Sunday, the lady sitting next to me after service walked up and was like, "Have you ever thought about being in the choir? uh, Let this be your invitation." And I'm like, of course you're like, yeah, I can, I can carry a tune. But then I get to my family and my son is like, we shouldn't lie in church. And I was like, I'm not lying. She said that to me. He said, I was talking about her. And so, so I was like, oh, okay. So we need to, we're going to get good comments, bad comments, somewhere in between comments. And we do need to discern and put those through a filter. Hey, do I like this one better because it pumps up my ego? Do I not like this one because it is calling out some problems that I even see in myself, and I don't appreciate that? And I think too, even if there's truth to what somebody may say, if they are not like within our circle, then it's like you don't have the uh, privilege to say that to me. Now, my brother can say that to me, and I'm going to hear it differently because they like are actually in my life and know my schedule and know what's going on with my family. But for an outsider to kind of just they only get a glimpse on social media of what reality is, and that's only what we want to show them.
Right.
And what they also probably don't know is like even if somebody was looking at my social media, most of those posts are scheduled. And so it isn't like I'm just sitting on it all day long, and posting. It is, I take some time out, carve out, 15, 20 minutes. I schedule some posts and I walk away. Um, or it's like, I'm going to go feed the horses. Nobody's with me. Let me record a minute video real quick.
Right.
Like that's a minute out of the day. And so I think, but again, we have to be discerning on what that looks like. We even talked before we went online is if my wife says it, that obviously carries different weight.
Right.
If you say it to me, that carries different weight. If a stranger who I haven't talked to in 20 plus years, who 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 even has my cell phone number but doesn't reach out by cell phone but reaches out in a comment section, it's going to be hard for me to take that in and do something with it. Versus, I've posted something before and someone texted me and said, "Hey, can we talk?" Okay, well, I'm going to listen to that person because they didn't want to get in the mud of a comment section. They see me as a friend and they wanted to share some things with me, and they did it in a gracious way versus kind of you're a terrible dad, terrible husband, and clearly you don't love people and you just sit in your basement or in your dimly lit office and are on social media all day long. And it's like, well, that's not really what my day looks like, but thanks for tuning in. And I think in the same way we have to think about and we have to be honest with ourselves about our own ego. And we all have it. I mean, I have a huge ego. I'm not running from that. I always have. I've never struggled with confidence. I know some people struggle with that. My mama built my confidence up from the time I was a little boy. So you couldn't tell me nothing growing. I mean, I believed I was going to play in the NBA literally until my senior year of high school. And that's mainly because of my mama. And so I never struggled with confidence, but because of that, there's been some ego, some pride things that the Lord has had to really chisel away from me. And so we have to recognize where we have that ego, but some of us go the opposite direction. So we will post things or do things. Hey, if I word it this way, someone will reach out to check on me. And that makes me feel good too. And so you really have to wrestle with all that. And the enemy can uh, use social media all day long. I mean, just get on there. He can, he is using it, and
Yeah.
then we as believers have to put it through a prism. And the best example I've seen of this is we either reject it or redeem it, and so there's going to be things that we're looking at and going, okay, I need to reject that. I need to reject that, even that comment, uh, that analysis of where I'm at. And then sometimes we need to receive it would be the other R. Sometimes we need to receive it and go, okay, I need to, I, that comes from a good place. And I probably need to look at where my heart is. And then sometimes we need to redeem it. And we can use that platform to point people to the good news of a good God. So it is if we don't view it that way, we can get down in the mess of it all. And I would agree. I think sometimes folks don't like things that we're saying, and they've been in our life at some point, and they don't like the things that we're saying now. So the best thing they can do is make a comment and question our integrity or question, what kind of husband or father we are, and where somebody that's in your life is going to be like, "Hey, can we talk?" That's
Right.
what I loved. I love to see that versus a comment section where it's just Yeah, I'm like, man, y'all, because here's the thing. Sometimes I see in that comment section, and it's a husband and wife, and I'm like, dude, walk down the hall and talk to your
Yeah.
wife. We don't need this back and forth. Even if it's like lovey dovey stuff, I'm like, go tell her that. Why are we doing that? And again, I think for some of us, we like w- we like letting people in, and so we want their eyes on good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, I know of a guy here locally, man. That dude is, his social media feed is a reality show, man, and not in a good way. But I think it is. It's because you want to get that. Uh, you want people to respond and, hey, I'm checking on you, or I'm doing this, and I think what really needs to happen is somebody needs to sit down and have a conversation. But I do think there's some truth too, that we have, and me and you have talked about this. Uh, I think we share an obsessive personality,
Yeah.
and so that can be dangerous, especially with negative things. It can be positive if we're obsessing over good things, but there's a fine line, and it is there. There are moments where, even in my home, where my wife will have to say, "Hey, can you look up? Like put your phone down and like be a part." And I literally wrote a book on this, and and she's like, "Hey, look up,
Yeah.
quit getting." And so, and for us, it's easy for us to justify and say, well, but it's for my work, or it's for
Right.
my, and I think, like for you, you wouldn't go to the dentist office and be like, hey, honey, look up, quick looking in the mouth. I need your,
Right.
but it's just it's a different thing that we have to navigate.
But
And
is
it's
it
not
right?
easy.
Is
Yeah.
it for our work? Like,
Right. Yeah.
even if it
Yeah.
started as our work, like, is it still for our work? And I'm not against anybody calling me out for anything. I think the last couple of weeks, for some reason, people that I haven't seen in decades have decided to jump up. I started talking about tribalism, and people that I went to law school with who I had. I mean, dude, it's been 15 years since I've encountered these people at all, and just to tell me all the reasons I'm wrong. People that lean to the left, and then I had people when I posted about tribalism on the right, who leaned to the right, telling me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
None of them recognizing that I wasn't actually talking about the thing that I was posting, but I was talking
Yeah.
about the prevalence that we as a society have to pick the side that we associate with, and only move forward with that. What I finally figured out was that I'm not going to solve tribalism. So, um, I'm
It's
out.
literally been since Genesis. Go read
Yeah.
Genesis. We it's been around. It's been around a
There we
while.
go. That's
And
fraternal correction.
yeah,
Sean, go read
yeah,
Genesis.
yeah.
Bring it back to the
And
Bible.
but I do think that but I think that's a good lesson for us too. Sometimes we hear what we want. So there are times where, like, even, where I may say something and I know the exact words that I said, and then when someone repeats it back to me, they added a word, took out a word, like, and I'm like, that, it's like that commercial where it's like, throw a red flag, let's run it back, and we'll prove exactly what I
Yeah.
said. Because we hear what we want. So if we're in a bad mood, I'm going to put a tone to the way you said
Yeah.
that isn't appropriate. Or if I'm
Even
in a
if it's
good
in
mood,
text.
yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on the tech stuff. And so you're either going to assign a tone to it, good or bad. I've even heard people say, uh, we were in a marriage study one time, and one thing that they said was, you need to assume the best of your partner and choose to love your partner. Like every day, wake up choosing to love and assuming the best. And I think as believers, we can even take that further. We should assume the best of people until there's reason not to. So it would be like, I send you a text and you don't respond for 10 hours. Well, I'm going to start assuming things. Oh, they don't care. They're or if it's with your spouse, you're like, oh, they're with another woman. Like, it's like, how did you go from, like, maybe their phone's dead? Like, assume the best until you
Right.
have reason not to. And I think if we all, especially as believers, if we all would practice that, our social media feeds would look better, our friendships and relationships would look better. But it is so easy to assign a tone or a blame uh, or put meaning to their words when they didn't mean that. It's just so much easier to do that. And again, the enemy is taking all of that and then using the algorithm of social media to just
Yep.
wreck all of us. I mean, just you know, you want to be mad? Okay, pull up your social media feed and just see what it feeds you. And oftentimes, it's feeding you that things to get angry about. It's the next, body cam footage of something that happened in a state 1,000 miles away,
Right.
or it's a sermon that I'm going to disagree with everything that preacher said, or it just goes bonkers. We even saw that here locally. We had a water issue, a main water line busted while I was in Chattanooga last week, and they were doing their best. I mean, we're in a small town. They're trying to alert people that you had to boil your boil. I say boil in the South, but boil your water, and
In
before
order
you
for
could
you, it's
use it.
the word is boil.
There you go. Thank you. And so you had to do that before you used it, but not everybody knew. Some people just didn't have water at all. And man, on social media, it was just, and I get it. People were upset and didn't know, but they were assigning blame and assuming things. And then you saw one segment where it was like, hey, if y'all need water, come over to my house, bring jugs, I got you covered. And so it was a real it was a real difference depending on what the algorithm was feeding folks.
Yeah.
And that's a scary place, man. It's a scary place to be when you're we're sitting kind of on our high horse and assigning blame or being a tone police or whatever, because we're in a place where we're just assuming the worst of people around us. And I'm telling, it's just not healthy, man. It's just not a healthy place to be.
And I think that a big part of the problem is that when social media started, we would click the things we liked, we would dismiss the things we didn't like, right, without recognizing that the impact that could have. And it's hard. I have noticed, and it's happening more and more, pro-abortion um, posts on my
Hmm.
on my feed, and it's because I click them, and I work really hard not to click whatever button you have to click to say this doesn't interest
Right.
me, right? Because it's easy to block everyone out that is saying something that you don't like, and it's the problem is that then you're being lied to, right? Then you only have the church lady telling you that you sing well.
Right. Yeah.
And I've never
Which
heard you
is
sing,
probably
so
a
I'm
true
not.
statement. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
it's
might sing
probably a
well,
true statement.
but but if everyone who tells you that you don't sing well,
Right.
you dismiss and never speak to or hear from again, and so now you've only got like this echo chamber of like this lady who just thinks you have the most magnificent voice in the world, and you're like going around like Botticelli. And
Yeah.
is that the name of the singer, or is that an
Yeah.
artist?
Something like
All
that.
right,
Yeah. It's the opera dude, right?
all right, that's
Yeah.
what I think. I think I'm talking
Yeah.
about an opera guy. So
Look at us. We're so cultured, man.
yes, so you're going around like him, and you're and everybody's like, "Will you please stop?" Like, well, you
Yeah.
can't hear him. So and that's really what has happened on social media, and I don't even think it was intentional. I think that people just allowed their emotions to take hold and said, "I don't want to hear from this person. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this," and which is fair. Like, why would you want to read something that you
Yeah.
completely disagree with? Except now all they get is things they agree with, and they don't know how to handle something that comes across that they disagree with, and that's a really unfortunate place to be, because the world isn't like that. Like, people disagree with me. There's people
Well,
who there's a lot of people who disagree with me.
but there was a time where I didn't know, like, people in my life, family members, friends, especially ones that were kind of surface level, that I didn't know where they stood on things. and it was fine. And I think the problem nowadays is we literally know where everybody what they believe. Like people that I go to church with every Sunday,
Yeah.
if they post that they are, celebrating Planned Parenthood, I know now
Right.
that changes things. And so I mean, even like, for a cultural reference, recently the Super Bowl, the halftime show, there was the main halftime show, then there was a halftime show on TBN, Turning Point put on.
Right.
And look, you know, I don't have whatever. Watch whatever halftime show you want. When I grew up, we would go to a church Super Bowl party and we would turn halftime off and we would have a Bible study. So, we were those weirdos. So like do whatever. But I would encourage you to go read the lyrics in English that were sung at the halftime show. That's all I'm going to say. And then make an assessment. But I saw someone on social media say the ones that didn't watch the main halftime show are also the ones that think you should drink out of a certain water fountain if you're a white. And I'm going, hold on now. So you're saying just because someone wanted to watch a different halftime show, you are now calling them segregationists? Like I think that's a stretch. But that's what social media has done. Is it like we paint with, and I've seen people share it, and we paint with such a broad brush that it's like, I'm not saying that if you wanted to watch the main halftime show at the Super Bowl that you're a bad person.
Right.
I'm not saying that at all. I really, really don't care,
Right.
what you wanted to do. But I certainly wouldn't say, well, if you watch the main halftime show, then you clearly hate Jesus and you clearly believe in abortion up to 9 months and you clearly are on the same page with everyone when it comes to the trans issues and all these. Like, I wouldn't say that about you just because you watched the halftime show. But, if I decided to watch Kid Rock in that halftime show, then somehow I like hate, everybody that disagrees with me. Like that is such a stretch. And we just say these things with no like now what but here's what I didn't do was go comment on that and go,
Right.
hey, like I don't care. But I think we got to be careful with what we are painting with such a broad brush with. And I just think I remember a few years back, I was in Washington, Supreme Court. There was a rally, a pregnancy center was being attacked. It made it all the way to the Supreme Court. I was speaking on the stage, and literally they had, I mean, not 20 feet from me was the abortion rally right next to us. So I'm saying what I'm saying. They're yelling and screaming and saying, and they have a man over there speaking, and he doesn't have he shouldn't say anything, all the regular stuff. So I was not dressed. I thought it was going to be warmer. I was not prepared for the weather in Washington D.C. that day. So I get done, and I'm literally, my lips are chattering, and I'm standing in the back waiting for it to be over. And a lady that was just screaming at me, but she didn't know it was me, comes up to me and she says, do you need a jacket? Are you okay? And in my mind, I thought, 5 minutes ago, you wanted me to die. And now, because you don't know that was me, you're like trying to be kind and helpful. And it was such a weird, like we say a lot of things on social media or with a microphone that we would never say. Now, some people would say it to your face, but most of the time we say a lot of nonsense, and it fractures relationships. And then you wonder why don't they talk to me anymore? And it's like, go look at what you said.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that? Now you want us to go have dinner together? It's just a weird. And now we're even seeing that within the pro-life movement of like, I'm never connecting with you ever again because you believe X and I believe Y. And it's just a dangerous place to be. And again, I don't want us to sound like old fuddy duds and like we're 90 years old and like social media is going to be the death of us. But again, if we're not careful, it's not going to be great.
That voice, you got to use that. That's your singing voice.
Yeah.
I think you're right, man. I think look, social media annoys the hell out of me. My phone, I hate my phone, but My phone is an amazing tool for what I need
Yep.
to use it for. Social media is an amazing tool for what I need to use it for. I mean, to be able to get the message that that I speak about when I speak at pregnancy centers as broadly as possible to as many pregnancy centers as possible. There's no way I could do that unless I had everyone's email address,
Right.
and I put together a video and sent it to them, and somehow could force them to open it. But if I can connect with them on social media, they can see that this is what I do, so that they're at least somewhat interested in not blocking me. And then I put up the videos of me speaking. That's an amazing marketing tool. It really is. And so I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah. Well, but
you
I
know,
think too, I think on a practical level, we should practice conversations. It's why me, you, and some other dudes meet on Monday morning,
yeah,
right? I mean, because that's not like we don't have a camera set up. We're not looking for a highlight reel. No, we're like wrestling with things,
right,
failures, where wins, losses, where we're struggling, what we're doing well. Uh, like I do that with y'all on Monday morning. I have a phone call on Tuesday with a guy, and on Thursdays I'm meeting with another group of guys because I want that to be a rhythm and a practice. And I would encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't have time. Well, none of us have time. Like, okay, like in the grand scheme, but can you do a Zoom call, a FaceTime for 45 minutes once a week with a group of guys or with one guy? And I'm speaking to the dudes right now. Like that is how you get out of those echo chambers. That is how you
yeah,
get into real relationship where they're like, "Hey man, you're on the road too much. Like you need to say no to some things." And or, "Hey man, I've just been watching kind of the tone at which." Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been watching you on social media. Is everything okay? Do you need any, like, having those check-ins
yeah,
mean the world? Or I come across a sermon that impacted me. I can shoot a text to a group of guys and say, "Hey, I would encourage you to watch this." Like, just that check-in. Or even, this past week I was in Chattanooga with a buddy of ours, Stevenson, and we're getting prayers from the group. Like those are that means something. And we're going to post on social media, and we're going to, here's what we got coming up, and here's our calendar, and here's a leadership nugget, and here's, all that stuff. All that's good.
right,
But when it comes to like my daily walk, do I have people in my life that'll be like, "You're doing too much," or, "Hey, all I'm saying is think through this, wrestle with it. I'm not saying right or wrong, but I'm here if you need anything," or, you know, uh, "Crap hit the fan and I just need prayer." Like, who am I
yeah,
reaching out to? And I think that should be a practice for us as guys, so that, whether it's in person or, like I said, FaceTime or Zoom or something, so that we're not just in that echo chamber building up our own ego, our own pride, but we have people in our life that we can take hard things to, that will challenge us, that'll inspire us. There's dudes on that call on Monday that inspire me. Like, oh,
yeah,
it pushes me to be a better dad, a better husband, a better speaker, a better, all of those things. And I think those things matter, and it will make us, in turn, it'll make us better husbands, fathers, speakers, like communicators, employees, leaders, because we're making time to better ourselves. It's the same reason why we go to the gym. And we talked about this on the last episode. It's the same reason why we put these rhythms in place to be better humans. Well, to be better men, we need to surround ourselves with good men that will speak into our lives when it matters. And you think about, even from a scripture standpoint, David and Jonathan were boys, like they were buddies, and they called each other on the hard things, and struggled through hard things together. But David had people in his life that would call him on his nonsense.
Yeah.
and bring him to repentance. And I think, sometimes we have made that a feminine trait, and I've been guilty of this. It's because I feel like, well, I'm not going to like hug and, do those things. It's just not my personality. So we have kind of feminized relationship, and so I think a lot of men are like, I don't need a buddy. I don't need someone in my life that can speak into that. And I'm just saying, you probably do.
Right.
You actually do need some guys that will sit down with you and walk through the hard stuff with you, and be there and check in. It doesn't. They're not going to send me flowers, and I don't want them to. But a text every now and then of like, hey, how's things going? How's the new job? Is there anything I can pray for you? That goes a long way when we do that, and then it kind of overshadows all the noise of the comment section, and of those that are throwing hate. And I think even in what the illustration you gave earlier, where you had the negative comment and then the positive comment at the gym, I do think in some ways, in God's grace, we see both of those. And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, you might have needed to hear a little bit of what that dude told you in the comment section,
Right.
but I want you to know, here's my grace to you. People are recognizing the good that you're doing as well. I think there's some common grace in there that the Lord is, just shows that He's paying attention. I mean, we just we're going through the Sermon on the Mount at church, and we just got to the part about anxiety, and it says, if the birds of the air are taken care of and the fish of the sea are taken care of, how much more will the Lord do for those that bear His image? Like, there's something beautiful when we are seen from those around us to be like, hey, you're killing it as a dad. You're doing so good.
To which I
those are
immediately laughed at.
yeah,
Uh,
right. Well,
I was like, if
and
you
and
only
I
knew.
but I think there's moments of, it is affirming to be like, look, it ain't perfect, but
Right.
it's a we're being intentional about it every day. So I would encourage folks listening to this, like, who are those people in your life?
Yeah.
And if you're going, I don't have any of those, find them. Find them.
Yeah. And that's kind of in a sense, look, and nothing can replace what you're talking about is the actual personal connections, right?
Right.
But I'll tell you this, like our personal connection started when we ran into each other at a conference,
Right.
like, for 2 seconds, and we're like, hey, let's talk after this. And that
Hmm.
was, and then we missed each other for several months, and then we connected and had a conversation, and immediately I was like, man, we should like record these.
Right. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
conversation's amazing. We should record these conversations and let everybody else listen to them. But it was just, that's kind of where it started. And so, there's nothing that can get past the personal connection, but community, I think, is something that is biblical as well, right? There's several verses that we talked about before in our men's group about community, and about a cord of three strands cannot
Hmm.
easily be broken, and so that's the only one that I can remember offhand. But I think that's part of the basis of the Men for Life arena is providing a community for people, for guys especially, but for people to be able to jump on and talk without all the other noise, right?
Yeah.
Not that everyone will always agree. We talk often about the different factions, even in the pro-life movement. So not that everyone will always agree, but that everyone will always feel comfortable in their disagreements, right?
Yeah.
Comfortable sharing and comfortable, growing. And I think that it's much easier to grow in a community when you're having these conversations, some of them fun, some of them hard, than it is to kind of grow by yourself in a darkly lit room,
Well,
office, or in the basement.
and it doesn't have to. It also doesn't have to be. Now, when we meet on Mondays, there is somewhat of an agenda, but we also talk about just normal stuff. Like I had a phone call this morning. Me and this dude talk every Tuesday morning, and we spent probably 30 minutes talking about uh, a barn, building a barn, and like what cows he's getting, like, and that was needed today
Yeah.
to just talk. And then it's like, hey, how's your week gone? What can I pray for you the week coming up? Like it is simple things that I think sometimes we overcomplicate. So we're like, oh, well, I have to be, you know, uh, a pastor or have a seminary degree to lead a men's group. No, you don't. Like just be present and be the one that says, hey, we're going to talk. We're going to come together. We'll laugh. We'll challenge each other. We'll inspire each other. Some days we'll talk about, very specific things. Other days we'll just come together and just, hey, how's things going? And what I've found in those moments, and we've seen it, is, then someone says, hey, I had to make a tough decision this week about my daughter in school. Or I had to make a tough decision. My wife and I are wrestling with something right now. Or it's coming together and rejoicing with those who rejoice. Hey, we have something big coming up. Would y'all be praying for that? Looking forward to it. Those are the when Scripture says rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. We need to have people in our lives in order for us to do that. If we don't have people in our lives, then it's just us being cynical when we see a post on social media and going, they don't deserve that. I want what they have. Well, that's not rejoicing with those who rejoice. Or we see people on social media and we say, they're going through a tough time, and it's like, well, they brought it on themselves. Well, that's not weeping with those who weep. Like these are when they're just kind of surface. That's why I wish Facebook wouldn't call it friends, because I'm like, they're not friends. Many of those folks are not friends.
Right.
Now some of them are, but they knew what they were doing when they marketed it that way.
100%.
And so now you feel like you know me because I post something on the regular, but you don't know, you don't know what's going on. And just like I don't know half the people that are posting on the regular, what they're really dealing with. And but the people that I'm talking with on a regular, like this, on our Monday calls and different calls, like I know
Right.
as best I can, um, and I do think that makes all the difference in the world. And then we're at a place where we're like, then if I hear some nonsense, then I can go, well, hold on, I know that person. So before I engage in that nonsense, let me make a phone call and have a conversation and really see what's
Yeah.
going on. And so it's good to have people that you really can rejoice when they rejoice and really can weep when they weep. Like that is if you don't have people in your life, you're not able to do that. And so have people in your life that you can do that with. It makes, and when you rejoice, and this is a sidebar, but when you rejoice with others, there's something so freeing about that, and it encourages me when I rejoice with others. It's so encouraging to me when someone rejoices with me and is happy for me. When my son went on an elk hunt, and I had people from all over the place, and it was like they were going on the hunt with us. Why? Because
Yeah.
they were rejoicing with my son, um, and the opportunity that we got, and it made it even more special to be a part of that. And so have people in your life that you can do that with. And I get it. It's not easy. So it's going to feel awkward and weird. And Sean, you probably see this too. Men are hungry for it. So if you put it out there, you're probably going to get a yes and not a no, because men are hungry for that type of community. Again, not a feminized community.
Right.
I'm not telling you to get together and try to imitate what the women's groups are doing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying get together as dudes and just have those conversations.
Yeah. When the Monday morning group, I think I reached out to 8 people. 8 people said yes.
Yeah.
And it was, and it wasn't just like, yes, it was like every week, everybody sends a text message and you're like, man, I'm so thankful to have this. It's an
Yeah.
amazing way to start the week, there's a lot of things that I will come up with a lot of excuses for why I have to reschedule them. But that is something that, except for the one day I was on an airplane, that I'm not going to miss.
Yeah.
because I think that it's important, and I think that all the guys on that call feel the same way. And all it took was sending out a message and saying, "Hey, is this something that you'd be interested in?" And
Yep.
everybody saying yes, and then trying to figure out when it's possible, right, to make it happen. And it's been great. And so I think that that's a really important thing to get out of the echo chamber, to get out of the social media, to get out of, the 5,000 friends I have on Facebook,
Yep.
and the honestly, 15 to 20 friends who I would actually call if I needed something,
Yeah.
which is a huge difference. So I like how you brought up the mistake in calling it friends. It's
Well, and I'll say I had a guy tell me one time we were talking about a singer, a country singer that we both liked, and he said I was in his wedding. That's what he told me, and I was like, oh man, like because we both went to Middle Tennessee State University. A lot of music guys went there, so technically, even though I didn't know anybody, and the only contact I have in my phone from college is my wife. Technically, I could say I went to school with some of these artists, but I would never say that. And but this dude was like, I was in his wedding, and I was like, you were in his wedding? He was like, well, I went. I was like, well, hold on, those are two very different things. And I think it's because social media has made us think like I'm friends with sewing. I'm like, you're not. You're
yeah,
not though. Like if you showed up their house, they're probably going to call the police. Like y'all are not friends.
right,
You may follow each other. They may every now and then give you a heart. They might have responded to you in an instant message, a DM at one point. But I'm telling you, like we don't need to throw that term around loosely. And but it's a pride thing. Why did he tell me he was in his wedding? Because it's a pride thing. He wants
right.
me to know he has influence and knows this dude. And I'm like, you don't though. And then he immediately felt conviction, which is why he was like, well, I went to the wedding. I was like, well, that's a little different.
I was the guy who set up the chairs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I was one of the caterers. I was working it. So
Right.
technically I was in the
Bus boy.
yeah,
You know.
I mean, I was technically in the wedding.
Right.
But yeah, it's a
They had a
but
microphone
again,
issue, and I had to fix the
yeah.
microphone.
Yeah, we all have those moments of insecurity. Or I've done this before where I was watching a show on uh, HGTV, and the dude on there had a hat, and I love hats, and so I sent him a message on Instagram, and I said, "Love the hat." I even had a picture, and I was like, "Where did where can I get it?" And he replied to me and told me where he could get it. Now that doesn't mean that we're buddies. Now, but what did I do? I told my wife, "Hey, did you know he messaged me back? And because there's this pride thing of like now I have a connection even though I don't have a connection." And
Right.
and but that's a pride thing of I need you to know this thing. And scripture would say some of these things need to happen behind closed doors, but our pride doesn't want those things to happen behind. We want people to know how good we are, or that we did this thing or that thing. And I just think social media feeds into that, and we just have to be aware. I mean, sometimes I can get very cynical, but then I'm like, but I'm doing the same thing. Like I'm posting to draw attention to the Lord, sometimes to draw attention to me. So like we
Yeah.
have to be honest with that and wrestle with it. And if you ever cross the line too much, you need people in your corner that'll be like, hey, you need to rein that back a little bit. That isn't about the Lord at this point. That's about you, and you need to we need to wrestle with that. Um, and I think that if you don't have friends in your corner that can do that, uh, it can be a path of destruction. So I would just encourage folks, find that community, whether it be at church. Maybe you do have a group of folks on social media that y'all engage back and forth quite a bit in a good way. Uh, maybe say, hey, what if we met once a week and didn't just do it in the comment section or just on our post where people could see, but we really met and encouraged and And it may feel a little awkward at the first and clunky, and that's okay. Like, it's just start something, get a
Right.
book and let's go through this book, or hey, let's go through the book of Ephesians, or whatever it may be. Like, give yourself that.
Hero goes villain is
Here,
a good
yeah,
one.
I mean, or that,
Yeah.
that those are opportunities to uh, make you a better man and a husband, especially if you're a husband and a father. Your wife, more than likely, I don't want to speak for everybody, your wife's probably going to want that for you. My
Yeah.
wife knows. My wife knows Monday morning, like, there's no that has to happen. She knows that.
Right.
And so I even heard her yesterday morning, or when we met this week, I heard her in my, telling the kids, "Hey, daddy's on a meeting. Y'all need to stop." Like she knows that matters for me during the week.
Yeah.
And so if you need, that's probably where your spouse is going to be. Uh for sure, is in knowing how important those conversations are.
And even if maybe not in the beginning, because there might be some suspicion as to why are you all of a sudden starting this new thing, which, it
Sure.
could be
Yeah.
golf, it could be trying out for a professional football team at 45 years old, whatever. Like, why are you starting this new thing? I think that this is a really healthy thing, and once you get into it, that your wife will appreciate it. And just to bring us back to fraternal correction, I think you're not going to get fraternal correction from social media.
No.
And I'm not dismissive of anyone who says, who criticizes me because on social media, because, God's going to speak to me however God wants to. And I always try to think about, where is this message coming from? Because I think that's really important. But the reality of what we've been talking about here is that, that accountability and fraternal correction, biblical fraternal correction, is going to come from people who genuinely care about you. It's not going to come from people who don't genuinely care about you, and so it's important to have those people who you trust in your corner, so that when somebody says, "Hey, man, I think you might be straying a little here," it's not so easy to dismiss, and at
Hmm.
least you can have a conversation about it, because we all need that. There's only one perfect human, and you're not him, and I'm not him,
Right.
and so we all need that in our lives, and so if you don't have that accountability group, or that that group of other men, that community, just make it. Look, and look, that's what happened. Is I heard somebody say those words. And I don't remember who it was, but I heard somebody say those words, and I was like, it might have been, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was Joby Martin was
Hmm.
I was watching him preach, and he said something like that, and he's like, if you don't have it, start it, and I was like, all right, yes sir. You're pretty jacked, and you got a bunch of tattoos. I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Got a good beard.
And you
Yeah.
talk about the Bible, like what you're talking about. So that's when I sent out that text. I was like, I do need. You're right, Joby. We're
Hmm.
friends. Joby and I friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
He comes to my living
Yeah.
room every Sunday morning.
Yeah. That's right. We
Um,
talk every week. I mean, I don't talk, but he talks every week.
yeah, I talk, but I don't. He doesn't seem to listen to hear me. Um, but but I think that's a really important thing. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today.
Well, I do think that it's I think sometimes we feel as if it has to be done a certain way, or or you got to be like, you got to know your Bible frontwards and backwards. And, I can't start a men's group because I'm not the perfect dad, or I'm not the perfect husband, or I'm on my second marriage, or whatever it may be. Like uh, those are things we need to wrestle with. But if you are trying to better yourself, you need to have other men in your life. Now, what I would say is, it's not just any man.
Yeah, good point.
Like it does matter who you're circling up with, and who has your back and who's in your corner. Those things matter. So if don't go call on the people that have pointed you to a bunch of nonsense, if you're not secure where you are. Now, it could be that it's more of a discipleship group, and you are leading it in that way. But if this is a, hey, we're going to share some struggles with each other, we're going to challenge and inspire each other, then it does matter who makes up that group. And then I would say it also protect that group, so like our group on Mondays, we're not just going to say come one come all. We're just not going to do that.
Right.
And so those things matter. And so there's nothing wrong with kind of having that. I meet with a group of folks that are in the pregnancy center movement. I meet with them a couple times a year, and we're very strict on who's a part of that group, because we share hard things, and they carry my burdens. So those are, you need to have people in your life that can do that. And again, I think for men coming together, what you have to be careful of is, sometimes as men we come together and it never gets serious, and so
Yeah.
it's really surface level, like, and that's fine. Like, you need buddies like that, but this really, if you're going to do this, it needs to be, that's fine if you talk about some of that, but it needs to get into some weighty things. And I think, even kind of the way we started ours was, hey, let's share some wins over the past week, let's share some losses over the past week. What do you need prayer for? Like, that could really be the basis for
Yeah.
stepping into this. It's very simple. I have a meeting on Thursdays with some guys, and I couldn't be there last Thursday, so I just said, hey, put your wins and losses in our text group, so that, and whatever you need to be prayed for, so that our group is still, even though we're not meeting, we can still be, engaging. And it was easy text. Here's some wins, here's some losses. Here's how I need you to pray for me. And that will keep us till next week. So those things are important, and we sometimes overcomplicate it, but it really is maybe that simple.
Amen. All right. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. Simple.
Simple.
Get some guys. And look, you touched on this, but I think it's also important. If you're in a community that is not raising you up, like, just leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get out.
It's not up to us to fix it.
Yep.
Leave and find the guys that are going to help raise you up, because you deserve to be raised up,
Yep.
and and you don't deserve to be dragged down. And
And
so,
I'll follow up with that. If you're
yeah,
not in a group that rejoices with you when things are going well, get out of that group.
yeah,
If all they want to do is pull down uh, and throw shade at others that are doing well, you need people in your corner that are going to celebrate with you, and not try to bring you down when something good happens. And I
that's
see
right.
it all the time. It just is so crushing. Someone is excited and they want to celebrate, and one negative comment pulls all that joy out of them. Look, you need dudes in your corner that are like, we're cheering you on, we're for you, we're excited, we're happy, we're rejoicing with you. That makes all the difference in the world.
Amen. So if you made it this far, leave us a comment. Tell us how we're doing. Click that like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate you, and we look forward to talking to you again next week. All right. Thanks, Andrew.
See you, man.